Now, for most of the demos in this course, we've used the excellent LinkPad utility, and you've already seen me plenty of times using the dump extension method that comes with LinkPad. And what this does is it iterates through your link query and prints out the details of each element in the LinkPad results window. And it's also able to apply special formatting in many cases. Now, obviously, in real applications, you won't just be calling something like dump, you'll be doing something useful with the results of your link query. But LinkPad's dump method also has another use, and that's to show you what's happening at the intermediate stages of a query. So what I can do is I can put dump in between each step in my link pipeline, and I can also give each of these steps a name. And so now when we run this query, we can see that LinkPad has helpfully sorted out the sequence of elements at each stage in my pipeline, so we can see what data was flowing through at each stage. And of course, we still have the final results of our query down the bottom here. Now, this is really useful when you're debugging in LinkPad, but can you do something like this for your own applications? And yes, you can actually do this quite easily if you create your own extension method that allows you to run any custom action on every element at that point in your pipeline. And many frameworks similar to Link include a method like this. It's sometimes called peek. And the name peek indicates that the intention of this method is to let us peek at the data as it's passing through the pipeline. And so you might use a peek method like this, passing in an action that writes out a debug message with the value of the element at this point in the pipeline. So how could we implement this peek extension method? Well, it's relatively straightforward to write yourself, and we learned earlier on in this course how you can create your own link extension methods. So here I've got my static myExtensions class, and we've defined a generic peek method that's an extension method on an IEnumerable of t. So this is going to work on a sequence of any type. And it takes a peek action, which is the method that we're going to call on every element in the sequence. And so all we need to do in the body of this method is to iterate through the source IEnumerable sequence, call our action on each element, which is just going to log it somewhere, and then we'll return that element with yield return. And so now when we run this, you can see in our results window that we've got a step-by-step record of each transformation that happened as we went through the pipeline. And you could easily extend this idea further. You might just want to make a peek log extension method that has the action baked in to write to your log file. Or you might make a peek if extension method that only writes to the log file if a certain condition is met. So I hope this simple example gives you some inspiration for what you could do yourself. And in fact, if you like this idea of having a peek method, and you're making use of the MoreLink library that I recommended earlier on in this course, then you'll find that it's actually already got a method that operates exactly like this, and it's called pipe. And as you can see in the source code for pipe, the implementation is basically exactly the same as what we just wrote for our peek extension method. So you don't even need to write this yourself. So that was just a few tips for how you can more effectively debug your link queries. Let's move on now and think about testing them.